Welcome to Active Bryant Systems. I'm Scott Bryant. Thank you for coming to my YouTube channel. I'm really grateful if you clicked on the video. Please subscribe, please subscribe. This video is all about the 10 myths or lies in strength and conditioning training. And I'm going to go over 10 of what I feel with my 36 years of workout experience and 20 years as a personal trainer, and what I've seen, what works and what doesn't work, and that's what gives me the authority, and I'm a book author, as you can see there, in which to help educate you to understand these 10 myths, and it's really, really important. So the first myth is you need to wear a belt every time you're lifting weights. Now this is purely not true. If you wear any artificial aid on the body will adapt and get weaker and will adapt to you using that belt, strap, or whatever artificial aid you're wearing. If you break your leg, you're in the cast for 6 weeks, then they take the cast away, you've lost the muscle mass, and you have to build that mass back up naturally. So this is the same with the lower back. If you're wearing a belt constantly, your abdominal wall and your lower back muscles, multificus and stuff like that, will start to turn off and not work the way they should be naturally to support you. So it's really important that if you're wearing a weightlifting belt, to only wear it for your 1 rep max lift, or you only wear it for your big lifts, and work on getting your back strong enough that you only wear it occasionally. Okay, so any artificial aid the body will adapt to, and then that will take over, and then your body will cease to be able to do what it normally does. So really important, get rid of the belt, get rid of the wraps. Like Arnold said years and years ago, if you can't lift it, don't lift it. Yeah? If you're using wraps when you're doing a 1 rep max, I understand that, because you've got your ego and you want to do your 200 kilos. But really, if you can't grip it naturally, then you need to do farmer's walks. You need to do grip work, not just rely on wraps. Now, I used to use wraps when I was in my 20s to get bigger and stronger. Then I took the wraps away and went raw, same with weightlifting belts. And I found, now I'm nearly 50, keeping my strength and keeping my power has worked through taking them artificial aids away. Does that make sense? But if I'm doing a 1 rep max of 200 kilos, obviously I may use wraps if I'm feeling weak that day. But I would prefer not to use the wraps, if that makes sense. Okay, the next one, the big one for the men out there, the men, is that drinking beer after your week of working out and working to reward yourself in your hard working of week, is that when you're drinking beer, it's full of estrogen, full of wheat, and you may be allergic to it. So really important to stay away from alcohol, because it drops the testosterone. So if you're trying to get stronger and powerful naturally, drinking beer or wine will bring your testosterone down, especially if you're over the age of 30. Maybe in your 20s you can get away with it. Okay, you need to be training like a bodybuilder. So I met a young man, he was 21, he was doing 10 exercises on his chest. He didn't have really much of a chest at all. And I said to him, how long have you been training for? He said 3 months. So really, it's really important for you to remember, to get big pecs, you've got to keep the exercise load down, but the weight up. So let's say, for argument, you're doing bench press, then you're doing flies, then you're doing cable crossovers, then you're doing press-ups, then you're doing one-arm presses. It's way too much for somebody that's trying to gain size, okay? If you want to gain size, stick to the basics. Not incline. I see lots of guys doing incline press, and I just think, what a bunch of wankers, because you're not going to build this up unless you're on gear. But if you're doing heavy benching, it will build it all equally. Does that make sense? But obviously, when you're doing incline press, you will feel it across the top part of the pec. But really, if you're benching or doing standing cable pressing that I do, and you're doing 80, 90 kilo, your chest will be a lot bigger and a lot fuller over time. Okay, and remember, to build size and strength and power takes time. The next one is I'm doing 20 reps on my triceps. I'm doing 20 reps on my triceps and they're getting huge, but they fucking ain't, because it doesn't happen. Okay, the tricep has two heads to it. It's one of the biggest muscles on the arm, or it is the biggest muscle on the arm. So look at the tricep compared to the bicep. Okay, can you see that? So the tricep is a lot more bigger than the bicep. Okay, so it's really important that when you're training triceps, you keep the exercises low, but the weight huge. Yeah, so the weight huge, the exercise is low, and the reps and sets load. Does that make sense? So I would normally do 5 sets on my triceps, 2 exercises, and they keep growing, and they're fucking strong. Yeah, because if you're doing the bench, standing bench press or cable push, you're using the pectoral, you're using the forearm, and you're using the tricep. Okay, so really important that when you're, this is another myth, is like training like a bodybuilder to get strength, speed and power. Now, most bodybuilders might do 5, 6, 7 exercises per muscle group. It doesn't work if you're trying to get fucking power. That's why you don't see the power athletes like sprinters, boxers, runners, not runners, but sprinters. People like that will not do fucking 10 exercises on their chest. If they are, they're an idiot, okay? Or they're taking some sort of performance enhancing supplement in which for them to be able to do that and not damage the muscle. Yeah. So remember, if you want power and strength, it's normally like 1 to 4 reps. If you want hypertrophy, it's 8 to 12, and if you're looking for endurance, is 15 to 20. But if you're doing 15 to 20, you can only do 3 sets. But if you're doing 1 to 6, you can do multiple sets. But you've got to listen to your body and see what works for you, because you do not want to overtrain. I used to train with the Great British powerlifting champion. He was about 5'4", super strong, and he said to me that his main key, he'd go in the gym, he'd do one lift of 300 kilos, put the bar down, then he wouldn't train for nearly 5 to 6 days, because it hits the neurobrain. It does so much damage to the body doing a massive gargantuan deadlift like that, especially if it's beyond your human potential. Okay, so the next myth is you need to do CV. You need to do CV in which to keep strong. No, that's total nonsense. All of my clients, in all the time that I've been PTing for 20 years, I don't get any of them to do cardio. I say, look, if you want to do cardio, go for a run around the park, or do some interval sprinting. I'm not going to stand here and charge you £135 an hour to press a button, because I'm honest and it's boring pressing a button. Go up, go down, up, faster, slower, rest, all that nonsense. I don't like any of that. So I would rather train somebody, hard, get them sweating, get their rest intervals time right, so their strength goes up and up, and they always keep improving. Yeah, so really important that you remember that. Oh, the next one is myth, is that a lot of guys that are doing strength training are doing 7 days a week. You don't need 7 days. 4 days a week is more than enough. And if you're feeling in pain or you've got an injury, then obviously that's the body saying, wake up, do less, have a sleep, have a wank, do something different in which to get the benefit from your strength and conditioning program. The next one, which is really, really important, is the speed and movement of what you're doing. So you'll see the beast, and he's going doing like 200 repetitions. Why? It doesn't need 200 repetitions for what he's doing. So it's just showing off on YouTube, really. But it's really, really important that the speed of movement for each exercise, so it's called tempo, okay? So if you were doing power training, the tempo might be 1-0-1, or maybe a 2-0-2. So you'd go 1-2-0, 1-2-0. Yeah, does that make sense? So when you get the rep sets, loads, and tempos right, this will enable you to see your strength and your power go up. But obviously you need to design yourself a program in which for that to happen. So a good book is a flexible periodization method written by a guy that trains athletes. And there's lots of things that you can try in there, different programs and stuff like that, in which to enhance your strength, power, and endurance if you want that, okay? But really make your program specifically for what you need it for, okay? So if I was training a sprinter, for argument's sake, I would only get them to train for very short intervals, but very maximum weight, okay, and get them to really focus on that. If I was training somebody, say they wanted mass on their chest more, that would be a very low rep, like 8 to 12 if it was mass, 8 to 12 repetitions on a, say, a 2-2-2 tempo, and I would probably give them 3 to 4 to 5 sets, depending on how quickly they break down. Or as soon as I see them shaking, I'll stop them. I'll try and stop them before that, yeah? So the idea of, oh, you need to be beasted till you're sick is just stupid. It's just not how you should train, okay? Especially if the client is much older. It's very important for you to make sure that you keep everything in balance. Because when they're shaking, this is when the nervous system is so damaged, you've taken it to such a fatigue that they might get a twinge and slip a disc, damage a muscle, or damage a ligament or tendon, and that's why I generally don't do that. So I work with a guy and we got him doing 160 kilo, age 60 years old, weighs 70 kilos, but he only done 1 rep. Okay, wanted to do more, but I stopped him because I said, look, your neuro system is fatigued. There's no point going any further because we'll do more damage in the long run. Does that make sense? The same as you'll see the beast when he does his 500 kilo deadlift. He does the deadlift and he's doing that with his neck, and he's not realizing that you've got C1 to C7 that feeds the nerves and that in your hands and your shoulder. So I bet he had an injury after that by doing that, showing off. So really, when you're doing strength and conditioning, it's really important that if you're doing gargantuan weight, that you always keep your head in a neutral position, that you don't start like jumping around because you've done your big weight until you put the weight down, because that's when you can get gargantuan injury that will affect you for the rest of your life. If you look at Lee Haney, or what's that other guy's name? I can't think of his name, but there's another bodybuilder and he was doing 10, 20, 20s each side to have gargantuan legs. Did he really need to do that huge amount of weight and then have 3 spinal operations, 2 hip operations, in which to get huge muscle? I don't think so. I think if most bodybuilders are taking performance enhancing steroids, if they was to reduce their training by 50%, they'll probably get 70% more growth. Because a lot of them are in a stage of like, I need to train harder, and they're training like that, and all of a sudden they stop seeing growth and stop seeing benefit, and I need to take more, and they're doing that more and more, and it just doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? I've been training for 36 years and been lifting heavy all my life. I just love it. But since I got educated in the last 20 years, I do things so much more differently to what I did when I was first started training in my 20s. So it's really important. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's really important that you get your reps, sets, loads and tempos right, your program design is good, and that you don't train like a bodybuilder, because bodybuilders are just posing their muscles on stage. They're not doing strength and conditioning, as in they're not doing sprint drills. They're not trying to win the 100 meters. They're not trying to box Mike Tyson or AJ and stuff like that. So the training methods need to be scientific. So read up about it. Now, in Louis' book, there's some rep, sets, loads and tempos in there and program design. But really, you're never going to have a physique like that unless you're taking gear. So if you're taking gear, then maybe you can try that way of training. But I believe with what I do with clients, if they was on anabolic steroids, I would get them still super strong and even bigger than what they already are. Because 90% of trainers, or 55% of trainers don't know how to write a good strength and conditioning program for their client unless they're doing it every day, or unless they're working for Chelsea Football Club or something like that. Does that make sense? So really, really important. I hope you've liked the 10 myths that I spoke about. Do not drink beer. Don't train like a bodybuilder. If you're going to do 20 reps, that's more like endurance training. So you might do 8 weeks of 6 repetition training for a few sets, and then you want to add the body have a break, and then you'd go up to 20 reps for 1, 2, 3 down, 1, 2, 3 up for 20 reps. By the time you get to 15, you can't make it to 20. And then if you were doing 65 kilo curling, I've tried this, if you're doing 65 kilo curling, it comes down to 10 each side. It's really embarrassing. So really important that you go through these training phases and you plan it for the whole year. And then the other fundamental mistake that lots of guys make is that they'll be in the gym for January, February, March, April, May, June, you don't see them. July and August, they're getting ready for the holiday. August, September, October, they're not in there. And then they're back in there again for January. So they're missing all these dates in which to get real strength, real size, and real definition. The secret in getting gains in strength and power is consistency, regularity, writing down what you're doing, or getting a coach to give you a decent program. And obviously you need to look at your diet, your lifestyle, your sleep, your stress, because if you're stressed with work or bills, or the missus is getting to you, this can stop your gains, this can stop you growing, this can stop you getting the benefits that you're looking for. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, 18 minutes long. Thank you for listening to me today. I'm Scott Bryant of Active Bryant Systems. If you're looking for help with your strength and conditioning program, we can do an assessment. I can design your program, take you through it, then you go on your own. Please comment below, please subscribe, please like, and thank you very much. Bye-bye.